Okay, so let's take a look at how you can set the DNS zone, how to set variety of options and configurations related to DNS zone, right? So first thing, go to your Azure portal and then click on services and then click on networking, right? And from here we can filter to DNS where you can see private zones and your DNS zones. If you click on the DNS zones, it should take you to page like this, right? Click on create. Now on this page we will be setting the subscription, setting the resource group. Then here you can see this zone is child of existing zone already hosted in Azure DNS. If you already have DNS, then you can enable this. Then comes the name. So let's give it a name, mydns.com, but that is most likely to be taken. So let's say just an example.com, right? Then here by default the resource group allocation is set for me, so I can't do much about it. Then comes tags, and I can here set the tags so that I can categorize and then come to that resource to later, right? So you can use tags or you can skip that. Now the thing is, I can now just review and create in the next step, and I don't have to associate this particular DNS zone immediately to any VM or resource, but we will be going through some of the settings, so we'll just create it for now. So it will take you to deployment, and once the deployment is complete we'll be able to check the resource. Okay, for now I will not be using this particular DNS immediately, so just go to the resource and let's explore everything within this dashboard for DNS. Here this is just an example and it's not a real domain. Now I don't have access to any of its name server properties, but I have added that just for the sake of showing you how the DNS zone works, right? Once you create one such zone, you will find that you have name servers to configure. You can have .com, .net, org and info as 4 different name servers for this zone. Now every such DNS zone would have options related to adding your child zones, also record sets and variety of other features, right? So what can we do? So we will take a look at those options. Before that, let me show you settings within which properties are set for this DNS. Out of 1000, 10,000 for that matter, we have 2 record sets. Location is global, so we get to use that, right? Now after the properties, we can also set the logs and we can explore those options. You can add the log. You can also check the resource group subscription for that log. Now if you are making use of this particular DNS feature, you can add that into automation as well. You can put on the task. Currently it is in preview, but in your future it will be part of your regular features. You can add the task, then get notified for those tasks. Now another thing, if we go to overview, you will find that we have like record set option and child zones option. Then from there you can move those resources to another group, another subscription. That option is also there. Now here, as you can see, already we have like 2 of such existing records showing name server and SOA, right? So you can always check their values in both of these, right? If you click on record set, then you will be able to add a new record set. So let's say if I want to add www as a resource, then you will have to set its type, which is going to be a type, then 4 times a as well as records for IPv4 v6 applies in case of www. Say I want it for mail records, I can simply type in mail dot then my URL, then here type should be changed to mail exchange records, so that respective values will be generated. So let's, for an example, I will show you record set for www, then type becomes a, then alias record set to no, then TTL values we can set time to leave between hours, minutes, seconds. I will set to 1 hour. Click OK, and as you can see that record will be added here. So every time you add a domain, you should configure a record or AAA records along with MX records, so that you can further use those options for routing your mails, routing your traffic, and so on. Now there is one more feature that we didn't pay attention to, is child zone. Click on that and it will take you to another page where you can see the options that we have for child zone. Here everything by default selected for you, so that you can directly set the child zone. So here I can name this as child dot this domain.com, right? And then everything else is already selected. Here you can see this zone is a child of existing zone already selected. Now I can select the tags and then directly move to validation. Once validation is passed, I can click on create, and that should work for the rest, right? Then we can also take a look at its settings options here, right? Okay, it will also go through the same cycle of deployment, and once the deployment is finalized, we will be able to use its feature in its own dashboard, right? As you can see, it takes a bit of time, usually depends on your zone, and once it works you can go to resource, and here you see you have similar option here as well, adding the record set, then adding again subchild. So child of a child, it's like multiple levels under, right? So this is something you would do in case if you have a lot of compartments through which you want to route things up. So like say instead of child you could have this as a mail option, so mail DNS zone. So any mail that comes in into the domain you want to compartmentalized, so mail one for particular DNS range, and for those you will create a particular child zone, then for another you will have another child DNS zone, and so on. So like this you can see we have pretty much managed child zone like this. So we will click on DNS zone, and here you can see our both the DNS options. If you right click on each of them, you will be able to pin them, add to favorites, open in mobile, and also edit their tags. Also notice that in order to delete them you will have to manually go to them, right? For example, let's say I want to delete this child zone. So what I will do, I will basically delete it, right? I will just have to type the name of this child zone, copy this, paste it, click delete. Validation successful. It will now start the deletion. Now we will come back to our main. Okay, so let's wait for it to complete the deletion. Meanwhile, if you want to delete your base DNS, which is just an example, if you want this to be deleted, make sure everything under this is deleted, and also it is not being used by any particular resource, because if it does then you will have to stop the resource, then come here, delete this, and then meanwhile you can switch that resource to some other DNS zone, right? So that should be the flow you should follow in order to get your DNS zone deleted, right? So I want to delete this one, so I will click on delete zone. I will type the entire domain out, click delete. If you want this particular DNS in effect, make sure to use whatever the name servers you get here into your domain register like GoDaddy or any other, and make sure to route it so that the DNS zone becomes functional. As you can see, we have deleted it, so it won't be functional now, right? But if you want it functional, you will have to put the name servers into your domain register for everything to work out smoothly. So I have shown you how to create the DNS zone. I also shown you how to create the child zone, how to delete the both and free up the resources.